Nancy, welcoming you to Garden Scroll.
Not new to the garden, but the first bloom of the season for this little more pale yellow lily. Today is June the 17th, and you know, the first day of summer is Thursday on the 20th, and the garden is beginning to have that hazy, hot look to it that the little plants are struggling to just look beautiful in, but some of them are making it. Some of those colors are still popping, but they're having a hard time of it. And the old wind is blowing, just hot wind, which can't be good for the garden. Oh, as I'm looking across over there, I see that one of my tall phlox has opened up its bloom. And I still want to come out every day and see what's blooming. And if I didn't already want to, when I have my breakfast, I'll turn on a gardening show and see what's in their gardens, and I'm like, oh yes, I've got to go see how mine are doing. Maybe I have a new bloom. So like yesterday when I came out here and I showed you this little bloom, it was a pleasant surprise to me to see this blooming. And last night when I watered, I did go ahead and give it some food. So that's a good thing. Last year I didn't feed my garden all summer long, or even in the spring, other than when I planted it. I did put some osmus coat type of a plant food on it, but other than that, I didn't. But we did get some rain. We got a lot of rain last year, but this year we have not. It's been going on all around us, so I'm sure people will say, oh yes we have, but no, we haven't here. One time we got 3/4 of an inch, and one time we got just under a 1/2 inch. So really about 1 1/4 inch is all the rain we've gotten this spring and summer, other than a few little sprinkles that didn't measure in the rain gauge. We could definitely use some more. And I don't like being out in this heat to the point that it's burning me and having sweat pour down everywhere. But these little plants, if you keep them watered, they just seem to love it. Filling out and looking good. And I have some zinnia blooms. This is one that's actually going to at least have one plant each of the yellow and pink, and I like this color combination. And of course, as I'm looking at it, I'm looking over here too and seeing this beautiful little daylily. Some of the Princess Diana clematis in bloom. I don't know if I pointed out to you that I have 2 new little leaves on my croton, and I'm so happy that this one lived for me. This is the first one that lived through the winter for me, and I told you that I learned to spritz it in the winter time. It was losing its leaves, and when I started that, it stopped losing them, and now it's building up some more that it's outside. And my little Rex begonias are still looking healthy and good. I'm going to have to do a post called I Love It, because you know I love it all. But look at this beautiful, it's a double impatient. It looks like a rose without thorns. So beautiful. I love it. Trailing vinca or periwinkle. Just one little one, and it's about to fill up at least a fourth of this little pot. And it's just so pretty, and who doesn't love a trailing plant? I love it. And unbeknownst to even myself, I realized that I love Rex begonias. Look at that color. Well, all of those colors. I just love greens, different shades of greens all mixed together. And look at this polymer print. Just this one leaf is amazing. I love it. Impatiens in a strawberry pot. I don't suppose there's any better way to position them, to show them off. I just love it. Coleus. Oh my goodness. You don't have to have a flower at all. You still have more color than most all the flowering plants can give off. Of course I love it. Cascading Artemisia. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I found this little plant this year. And I hope I can keep them for many years to come. But it's just such a little beauty trailing plant. Again, I love a trailing plant. And then just this beautiful color. And I love to mix it in with some Dusty Miller, who has practically, if not, the same color. I love it. Alternanthera, look at this color. And I've told you, but it changes from like a garnet to a ruby when it's shown in the sunlight. And okay, what about little brothers? Because my little brother gave this to me. He painted this for me. And you know, sometimes those pesky little brothers can turn out to be the most wonderful, just the person that puts you up on that pedestal and makes you feel like, well, if nobody else loves you, they do, and they're your protector, and just right there in your corner. And I love it. Malabacoa, or mini petunias. I so love this little plant. This one, for some reason, it is a proven winners. I don't know if that's why, but this one has done the very best for me, and I still have a hard time with them. I don't think they like our Oklahoma heat, but I do love it. And then this is one of the Purple Heart with the pink through it, and of course that just sets it off even more, and I love it. And I'm loving this little blue floss flower, or agerantum. And I don't have a lot of blue in my garden, but I do have some. And this is one I would like to continue to keep in the garden every year. It is an annual, so it has to be planted each year if you can find it. And so I hope to have this one in my garden each year, and it is beautiful, and I do love it. And I'd have to go back to the clematis, because oh my goodness, ever since I saw one of these, and I was a grown woman, and my nephew's wife Andrea and I were walking around at garage sales at my mother's house, around the area by her house, and I saw some of this in a bright purple growing up a pole, and I said, oh, what is that? And Andrea said, clematis, I think. And she was amazed that I hadn't heard of it, and I was amazed that there was such a plant. And so I've been getting them ever since, because I love it. And yes, I do love the yarrow too, and maybe even especially the pretty pastel yarrows. And this one is in the purple shade of color, and I just love it. Can't go too far because here's the pink bee balm. I love it too. You know, one of my frenemies from work gave this to me many years ago when she was actually at least semi-friend. But I still do love it. The succulents. Oh my goodness, the succulents. I don't know if we could have an Oklahoma garden without them. They just keep going, even in a small little container, even in the hot throes of our summer heat. And the sedum, the same goes for them. I love them too. Okay, look what happened. I told you we might have a new bloom. Remember, I've told you that I planted some a bunch of poppies in here, and I don't know if any of them come up, but this one, which is blooming today, it's blooming. I'm hoping it'll put me down some seed and I'll have poppies coming up like petunias are coming up, and even this pretty Bells of Ireland, which is dying, and I'll have to put something else out here, most likely zinnias, because you can plant those zinnias way late in summer and still get bloom by the fall. But I'm excited over this pretty poppy bloom that the wind just took away. Isn't that how life goes sometimes? This little plant is something different. It may be one of the different poppies, but I'm not sure. I clipped the top of this little coleus off so it would grow wider, and not only has it grown wider, but it's growing up again too. So this little tomato that I thought was dying. I might as well pull that up and get it out of there. But the one I put right beside it is alive. It has blooms, and I'm excited about that. I'm so glad I did go ahead and just put another one in there. And we have another poppy bloom. I'm so, I love it. I think I would love for these to just reseed themselves all over the place, but that may not really be what I want, but right now it is. Of course, I love when the butterflies visit the garden. Look at this beautiful little coleus. I'm sure I've showed it to you before, but isn't it beautiful? Don't you love it? And this color Saras coleus is not staying little. I love how they've grown. I brought this little copper plant out, a green. It was all green, and now look at all the beautiful copper color. I love it. Some of the cosmos is beginning to bloom. I love the summer cosmos, and it stays up until fall, the end of fall. And look, my little sweet potato vine that I just took a clipping of, right there in the center, it's got its root because it's coming up and looking great. But now my petunias are dying, so I don't love that. And I trimmed my little rose, all the old dead roses off, and look, I love that a new bloom opened up today. We got just a tiny little bit of a shower, which is another thing I love, and wish we got a bigger one, but thank you, Lord, for the one we got. And look at this little salvia responding to that rain. Don't you love it? When you can come out and see the response of your garden to the rain. Okay, I love this too. This is lavender, and it looks terrible, but it's the best I've ever got lavender to look for me. And right in front of it there, an armadillo dug a hole, but I guess it didn't like the scent of lavender, so it just backed off anyway, so that's great. And hopefully this will grow up to look beautiful. Wouldn't that be something? I would love it. This is a little seed, one of the little seeds I showed you earlier that I started. This is a Mexican sunflower. And I just love it when they start growing, and you, after a while, you cannot tell the little seed, the one you started from seed, the little seedlings from the one you bought at the nursery shops in the spring. When your cousin gives you a gift, that's another thing to love. But I do not love when I see a bunch of crabgrass and weeds coming up. I do, however, love that this little tool can pretty much take them right out. Of course, because of our recent little shower, which could not even be called a rain, but they could transplant themselves. I'm going to try to pick that up so that won't happen. So there I have went all down this fence row and got all that, or hopefully all of that grass that was growing up. And another thing that I love is that for a lot of the problems I find in the garden, someone else has already came up with the answer to the problem. This little tool, as I've told you before, but it will just scrape right in where there's not hardly any room and scrape all that little stuff right out for you. And I do love it. Just look how this little one has responded to our little shower last night or early this morning. And it's got so many blooms and looking so good. As actually is this one right here down below it. Did you ever notice that when we get off on what we love, we can't help just being human and also thinking of the things we don't love? Like this little pot I have filled up, I don't know how many times, and another thing is dying right there. I'm actually going to try to start something there, which will probably just go ahead and die again because it's probably too hot for that. But we do have, it's going to be slightly cooler today, and then tomorrow and the rest of, for at least 3 days on the forecast, it's going to be hot, dry and hot. I love seeing nature in the garden, as well as the pretty bloom. I love that I may have saved my little yellow-green barberry bush. I came out here and started stomping around and realized that it felt kind of spongy underneath it. I couldn't quite figure it out, but I figured out it was a mole, and the reason I couldn't tell it was because I didn't clear off this grass or the debris from the tree that had fallen down here. I thought, well, maybe that'll be a good mulch for it, so I had left it. But I couldn't tell that it was a mole tunnel. But once I figured it out, and I put some mole bait out here, and it may have gotten this little mole, although I've seen other places in the garden where I need to reapply. But this one, I just love that it may live. It looks like it will now, thank the Lord. And it looks great now. But by this afternoon or this evening, it will be wilted most likely. But if they build that root, I'll get to show this to you again when it's full and lush and beautiful. And don't we all love when those tiny little sparse looking plants that we put in from the early spring nursery plants, or that we saved through the winter, and they start filling out the pots and looking like this. And I like it when I'm wrong about not getting enough rain to lift the float. We may not have gotten a quarter of an inch, but we did get that float lifted up, so praise the Lord. I like praising the Lord in the garden. It just comes so easy. It's like singing in the shower. It just happens. And I like it that I saw the vision for this garden. Maybe not exactly as it is. Some parts I'm sure were better, because I still envision, water features and structural features and things like that in the garden that I have not yet been able to do. A path, I envision a real path instead of just weed control fabric. But I'm grateful for having weed control fabric. It saved me a lot of work. But I never really wavered on my vision for the garden. I knew the Lord had told me I could make it beautiful. And then when I began to try, I could easily see that He was helping me do it, because no, I could not have done it without Him. I love it that our Lord helps us with things. And I can't help but wonder why He's not had this to just take off and go. So what I would love? I would love if you would jump on my bandwagon, my YouTube channel, and just make it go, 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 and become something great and beautiful. Whatever it is the Lord had in mind for it when He told me that. There's been many times when I thought I can't do it, and why am I doing it? It's just so hard, and nobody really cares. And a few people say, oh, but it is beautiful, but then they just click on like on the picture and don't even listen or view the actual post. So I don't know why I'm doing it, except that the Lord did tell me I could make it beautiful, and for some reason I'm compelled to go out here all the time. Don't get me wrong, I've so totally had times when I thought, no, I don't think I need to be doing that. I've got to finish, my life is almost over, even if I get to live several more years. So I just know that God has a purpose for this, or I would definitely let it go, because I do have other things I want to do. I'm not getting them done because I'm out here all the time working, and sometimes I do get so discouraged that I want to quit, but somehow the Lord just compels me and brings me right back out here, and I know He has a purpose for it. He didn't tell me what the purpose was, so that's all He ever told me was you could make it beautiful. And so I'm still waiting if He has something else in mind. I'm waiting for this bougainvillea to bloom. Oh my goodness, it's going to be beautiful if it does. It did not bloom last year, so I'm hoping it takes off and really goes this year and makes up for the time it missed, just like I hope this channel will, and I hope you will help it to do that, because there's some parts of it I can't do. I've done everything I know to do, and I've got to stand there for. And so I just would appreciate it if you would just give me some likes, some comments, some subscribe if you haven't. Definitely do that, and share it with your friends, and let's just get it going. I love it that the Lord still helps us when we get overwhelmed and beyond what we can do ourselves, and when we want to give up, He just doesn't see that as an option. Thank God. But you know, I guess He knew that I just needed to get some of these things done. It's been so hot. I haven't been doing some of the things that I really needed to get done. Today, getting those things done that I was able to accomplish, and filling the garden. You know, the garden is totally at the mercy of the weather. And when the temperature is great out here, the garden is beautiful. But no matter how beautiful it is, if it's miserable to be out here, it takes that beauty away. And I can't hardly handle the heat at all anymore. Sorry to say, but that's the way it is. But God has been so good to give me this day, to know what I needed, to give it to me. He's so good to me. I love it so much. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.